When it comes to motorcycle laws in the US, most riders know the basics. Wear a helmet, use your signals, obey the speed limit. But beyond those, there's a whole world of bizarre, forgotten, and downright surprising rules that can trip you up in unexpected ways. From state-specific quirks to rarely enforced technicalities, these lesser-known laws could save you from a ticket or leave you scratching your head. Let's look at 12 of the strangest motorcycle laws you've probably never heard of. Don't trust that cool visor after sunset. Riding into the evening with a dark tinted visor might look stylish, but it can actually land you in legal hot water. In numerous states, including California and New York, wearing a heavily tinted visor at night is against the law. Why? Because these visors significantly reduce your visibility after sunset, which puts you and others at risk. Your stylish gear might shield your eyes from harsh daylight, but come nighttime, it can block out critical light from street lamps and oncoming traffic. Police in states like Illinois have even ticketed riders who didn't realize the visor they wore at 2 p.m. would be illegal at 9 p.m. What's the solution? Carry a clear visor or switch to one when the sun goes down. Some opt for photochromic visors that adapt to lighting changes, but they come at a cost. Regardless of your choice, the law exists for your safety. If you can't see clearly, your reaction time is compromised, and that could mean the difference between a close call and a crash. A trike or sidecar may require a completely different license. Many riders assume that once they've got a motorcycle license, they're cleared to operate anything with handlebars and a throttle, whether it's a sleek two-wheeler, a trike, or a sidecar-equipped cruiser. But that assumption can get you into legal trouble in several states. For example, in California and a few others, operating a three-wheeled motorcycle like a Can-Am or a Harley with a sidecar may require a separate endorsement or license class, such as an M3 license, specifically designated for three-wheeled vehicles. Why the distinction? It's all about handling. Trikes and sidecars don't lean into turns the way traditional motorcycles do. Their steering resembles a small car more than a bike, especially at higher speeds or during emergency maneuvers. Because of this, states see them as requiring a different skill set, and if you take your riding test on a trike in some states, your license may be restricted to only trikes, meaning you'd have to retest on a two-wheeler to ride a standard motorcycle legally. This catches a lot of riders off guard, especially those who buy three-wheelers thinking they're an easier entry point into motorcycling. They may be easier to balance, but they're not a shortcut through licensing. Failing to get the correct license can not only lead to fines, but it can also complicate insurance claims or get your bike impounded if you're pulled over. So before you hit the road in your new reverse trike or vintage sidecar rig, double check your local DMV's licensing rules. That dream ride could become a legal headache fast. That windshield doesn't count. You still need eye protection. Many riders wrongly assume that a windshield offers enough protection to skip wearing goggles or riding glasses. But in numerous states, including New York, Georgia, and Minnesota, this assumption could get you ticketed. The law requires eye protection not just for comfort, but because windshields don't fully shield you from flying debris, bugs, or particles kicked up from the road. In fact, some laws go even further. They demand shatter-resistant eyewear, which means your everyday sunglasses might not cut it legally or practically. Here's another twist. Some states prohibit tinted or dark lenses after dark. So while you might be legal and comfortable during the daytime, as soon as the sun goes down, that same gear might put you in violation. It's all about visibility and safety. Don't get caught squinting through a cloud of dust or struggling to see the road. Invest in proper legal eye protection and make sure it matches the lighting conditions. That side-by-side cruise could be illegal depending on the state. Riding side by side with a friend on the open road might feel like a classic movie moment. Two bikes, one lane, freedom in sync. But in certain states, this formation isn't just frowned upon, it's actually illegal. Places like Montana and Arkansas require motorcycles to ride in single file, meaning riding parallel with another biker in the same lane could lead to a citation. Why? Because the practice is seen as limiting a rider's maneuverability and reaction time, particularly in sudden or dangerous situations. The problem lies in how laws vary dramatically across the country. In many states, states, two motorcycles may legally share a lane, especially at lower speeds or in parade-like conditions. In fact, side-by-side riding is sometimes encouraged in safety training as a visibility technique during slow, controlled group rides. But once you hit higher speeds, narrow rural roads, or congested traffic conditions, that same formation could be classified as reckless or unsafe driving in jurisdictions that prioritize evasive spacing. Law enforcement often has discretion here, which adds to the confusion, even in states where the law is vague or doesn't explicitly forbid the practice. Some officers may interpret close riding as hazardous, especially if the traffic flow is heavy, the lane is narrow, or weather conditions reduce visibility. That friendly cruise could quickly shift to a costly reminder that not every state sees the road the same way. So before you line up wheel to wheel with your riding partner, check your state's specific traffic code, or risk turning a casual ride into a legal headache. What's a show of solidarity to you might be seen as obstruction or carelessness to the driver or officer next to you. Don't assume that sidewalk is fair game for your bike. It might seem convenient to park your motorcycle on the sidewalk, especially when car spots are packed, but unless you're in a very specific part of a city like San Francisco, doing so could earn you a ticket. Some cities do allow motorcycles to park on sidewalks if they don't block pedestrian traffic, but this is the exception, not the rule. What's legal on one block might be illegal on the next, and signage is often unclear. Adding to the confusion, motorcycles are sometimes allowed in spots where cars aren't, especially in crowded urban areas. But unless you're absolutely sure sidewalk parking is permitted, that quick stop could end in a citation. Local ordinances vary not just by city, but sometimes by district within a city. So before you roll your bike up on the pavement, double check the local parking laws. Just because you see another motorcycle there doesn't mean it's allowed. You might both be one parking enforcement officer away from a fine. Foot pegs aren't optional when carrying a passenger. Thinking about giving a friend a ride on the back of your bike? Before you do, check whether your motorcycle is legally equipped to carry a passenger. In many states, it's illegal to ride with someone unless your bike has dedicated foot pegs. And yes, even if your passenger doesn't use them. This rule often catches riders off guard, especially if they've removed the pegs for aesthetic reasons or simply never thought about them. Beyond foot pegs, some states also require a proper passenger seat, not just a padded part of the bike or a small luggage rack. If your bike isn't specifically designed for two-up riding, it might not be street legal for carrying anyone else, no matter how short the trip is. Police won't care if it's just around the block or if your passenger doesn't mind. If they spot a bike carrying someone without the right setup, expect a citation. Always check your bike's configuration and local laws before letting someone hop on. That quick ride could cost more than you expect. You could be fined just for moving your feet. Believe it or not, in states like California and Texas, you can actually get ticketed if your feet aren't firmly planted on the footrests while riding. It might sound ridiculous, especially if you're just stretching your legs on a long trip, but the law interprets this as a loss of control over your motorcycle. The intention behind this rule is safety. Keeping both feet on the pegs helps maintain better control and balance. But the law doesn't leave much room for common sense exceptions. Whether you're adjusting your gear, trying to cool down your legs on a hot exhaust, or simply easing a cramp, you could still be cited. This law is especially tricky for new riders or those embarking on long-distance journeys where fatigue sets in. And whatever you do, don't swing your legs out like you're lounging. Law enforcement will see it as reckless behavior and they won't hesitate to pull you over. Know your state's specifics before adjusting your posture mid-ride. The wrong move could cost you more than a sore leg. You might be allowed to ride the shoulder, but only in special cases. Normally, using the shoulder of the road while on a motorcycle is a fast track to a traffic violation, but there are exceptions and they're very location specific. Take the Twin Cities in Minnesota, for example. There, motorcycles are permitted to ride on the shoulder during heavy traffic on certain roads. The idea is to prevent overheating, reduce rear-end collisions, and improve overall traffic flow. Sounds like a sweet deal, right? Well, hold up, this isn't a free pass to zoom past a jam on any road. There are strict guidelines, like speed caps and clearly posted signs that allow it. Shoulder use is only legal under those exact conditions. Just because a bus or another biker uses the shoulder doesn't mean you can too. If you're not local or unaware of the rules, copying someone else's move could cost you a hefty fine or lead you into a trap designed to catch drivers abusing the shoulder. Always verify the law in the area before you take the shoulder. In some places it's helpful, in others it's a ticket waiting to happen. Your license plate needs a white light and only white. Customizing your bike can be fun. Chrome finishes, neon accents, even underglow lights. But here's one part you absolutely can't get creative with: the light that shines on your license plate. In many states, including Texas, Georgia, and Arizona, it's legally required that your plate be illuminated with white light only. And yes, it must be visible at all times, even during the day in some places. Why so strict? The goal is simple: easy visibility for law enforcement and cameras. Colored lights, blue, red, or anything fancy, can be confused with emergency vehicle lighting or obscure the plate entirely. That's a no-go in most states. Also, if your light isn't bright enough or the bulb is burned out, you could get pulled over and cited, even if everything else on your bike is perfectly legal. Some riders even try to hide or angle their plates for aesthetic reasons, but doing so can lead not just to a fine, but to your bike being impounded in more extreme cases. So while you're focused on mods and upgrades, don't forget the basics. A working white license plate light can save you a world of trouble. You can run a red light, but only sometimes. Sounds like biker fantasy, right? Blasting through a red light without getting pulled over. Well, in states like Illinois, Missouri, and Minnesota, this can be perfectly legal, but only under very specific circumstances. These states recognize that many traffic light sensors are designed to detect heavier vehicles, meaning motorcycles can sometimes be invisible to the system. If your bike doesn't trigger the light to change, you could be stuck indefinitely. That's why some places allow motorcyclists to cautiously proceed through a red light after waiting a reasonable amount of time, typically around 2 minutes, and confirming the intersection is clear. It's not a free pass to blaze through red lights at will. It's a backup plan for when you're clearly stuck and no one's coming. That said, if you're caught doing this in a state that doesn't allow it, or if you jump the gun and don't wait long enough, you could be hit with a hefty fine. Plus, this rule can confuse other drivers and even some police officers, especially in states where it's rarely enforced or not well known. So double check the rules in any state you're riding through. Running a red light may be legal in one town, but reckless in the next. Helmet laws aren't always what you think. It's a common assumption: ride a motorcycle, wear a helmet. But in several states, that's not necessarily the law. States like Florida and Pennsylvania allow riders to go helmet-free under certain conditions. For example, in Florida, if you're over 21 and carry at least $10,000 in medical insurance, you can legally hit the road without a helmet. However, helmet optional doesn't mean no rules. The insurance requirement isn't just a suggestion, it's a legal condition, and some rules apply only to bikes over a certain engine size or to specific classes of licenses. Also, not carrying proof of qualifying insurance during a stop could result in fines or points on your license, even if you were otherwise compliant. The laws vary wildly between states, and a legal ride in one place could be a violation in another. If you plan to ride bareheaded, make sure you've met all the criteria, and be prepared to prove it. Skipping the helmet might feel freeing, but skipping the fine print could cost you big. Lane splitting, legal in some states, a ticket in others. Cruising between lanes of slow or stopped traffic, known as lane splitting, might feel like the ultimate time saver, but in most of the US, it's also a quick way to get pulled over. Only a handful of states permit this maneuver, and even fewer have laws that clearly define how to do it safely. California stands alone with a fully legalized, structured approach to lane splitting. There, motorcyclists can legally move between vehicles under certain conditions, typically when traffic is slow and the rider keeps their speed under 15 miles per hour above the flow of traffic. The California Highway Patrol even offers safety guidelines to help riders and drivers share the road. Other states like Arizona and Utah have limited versions of the law. Riders can filter between cars under very specific circumstances, such as when traffic is stopped at a light. But venture outside these zones or misread the local rules, and you're likely to face a fine or worse. The tricky part? Many drivers aren't aware of these laws, even in the states where they're legal. So while you might be following the rules, that car door or sudden lane shift still poses a serious risk. If you plan on weaving through traffic, know exactly where and when it's allowed. One city's time saver is another's moving violation. Understanding these unusual motorcycle laws isn't just about avoiding fines. It's about being a smarter, safer rider. Every state has its own quirks, and what's legal in one place might be a violation just miles away. Whether you're cruising cross-country or riding your favorite local route, staying informed can make all the difference. If you learned something new today, hit that like button, subscribe for more rider-savvy content, and drop a comment with the weirdest law you've ever encountered on two wheels. Ride safe and ride smart.